Hey guys and gals, why do you keep dying in Life is Feudal Forest Village in your first year? Well, there's a few reasons, but keep watching and you'll find out how to survive. Alright, so here we are. First thing I need to do is rotate the screen and get our two villagers, start with two villagers, and get them to start harvesting the local area. Originally here I've just asked them to clear everything, but ultimately probably going to want to focus on wood and hay are the things that are needed most for our early buildings that we're going to try and build. So just going to fast forward through a wee bit while these guys gather here. Now you'll see here I did select at the start to not start with the houses, but it always starts you with a hut, and you'll see there that hut starts with a bit of food in it and a bit of firewood. Generally that is probably enough to get you through the winter. Certainly food wise is we have enough, but firewood I'm not so sure. It gets you through the first winter, should I say. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to place a barn first of all. What the barn is for and why we've been gathering these resources is the barn is for storing all of these resources, and it'll store almost all of your resources other than your food. So I'm going to place that there, and we almost have what we need for it there, but I'm going to need some more gathering, particularly of look like iron there that it was short on. So need a wee bit more gathering there, and then we'll get the barn up and running. And again, I will fast forward through while they're gathering and getting the resources for the barn. So our two wee people there have harvested enough resources or scavenged enough resources for us to build the barn, so they're going to start to build it now. And next I'm going to build then is a lumberjack lodge, and what this is for then, this is to turn our wood into firewood, because as I said there before, it's the firewood that we're likely to have a problem with, and the biggest problem with in our first winter. So we have enough food probably to see us through, particularly with what we're going to do in our next 3 seasons here before the winter comes. But we definitely need a lumberjack's lodge there so that we can make firewood. And one thing about the lumberjack's lodge is very handy is you can actually use it while throughout the winter, whereas a lot of food you can't actually go for. The next thing I want to place then here as well then is a fisherman's lodge, and contrary to what I just said there, a fisherman's lodge, you can also use it through the winter, so it's good. It's not the most efficient way of getting food, definitely not, but because it's one of the ways you can use throughout the winter, it's useful. Probably the most efficient way of getting food is the gatherer's hut, but you can only use it during the warmer months, so it's really a balancing act. But I do like to have a fisherman's hut there for panic situations in the future, where you're running really low on food and you can put a couple of extra villagers onto it then. So it does no harm to have it up and going now. We have plenty of extra resources for it. So once we build the lumberjack's lodge, then that fisherman's hut or fisherman's lodge will be built next. And we're just going to fast forward through that while we harvest a wee bit more resources and build those 2 buildings. So both those buildings are complete now. We now have a way to produce firewood for ourselves and a way to produce food for ourselves. So again, they're the 2 most important things, particularly in this early game, in this first year or 2. Now they're important things throughout the whole game, but eventually you do get a handle on both of them where you don't have to worry about them too much. But right now they're priority number 1 and 2. You will freeze to death over the winter and you will starve to death, well, all year round. So you need both those things almost at all times, and because we only start with 2 villagers, if one of them dies, you're screwed. You have to keep both of them alive until you start to produce other citizens, and then you really don't want to lose anybody in your first 10 to 20 years, 10 years anyway, to be honest. Some will die of old age, maybe around 15 years or so, but you don't want to lose any to accidents or starvation or anything in these early few years. It'll really set you back. particularly as I say with these first two. If one of them dies, it's over. It won't just set you back, it's over. So at the minute, I have, just from the two of these buildings were built, I have one person making firewood and one person collecting fish, and that's the way I'll keep it for a while, just to let the firewood build up a bit, because we really don't have a lot. We have some, as I say, that came in the hut, but we don't have a lot other than that. And then the second person, they could really be doing anything at the minute, but I have them in food just as on fish, just as a feel safe. We have plenty of food, but it does no harm to have any more. It doesn't go off or anything, so just to be sure about that. So they've collected enough resources here, so I'm going to place this small house for them. I'm going to place it just close to the starting area, just to make things as easy as possible for the two of them. I realise here I'm still a wee bit short on wood, but we're only two short, so we'll sort that, and I'll try and get this house built then. Now we're sitting in fall at the minute, so we need to build it fairly quickly to make sure it's up before winter, but I think we should be good because we have basically all of the resources. I think somebody just got a wee bit of wood for me there, so I'll fast forward us building through this house then as well. So that's it built, and if you look at it then you'll see that it's showing a wee cold icon and a wee food icon above it, and all that means is basically it has no firewood and it has no food, but one of the villagers just has to go to the houses, to the barn, sorry, pick up firewood and pick up food then and bring it into the house, and we'll be grand. Which they have done now as they've disappeared. Now I have deleted their old hut here because I don't need it anymore. Essentially, I built a much bigger, better house, and I don't want anybody sleeping in this hut. Sometimes the villagers are a wee bit stupid. Even if there's room in the bigger building, they'll sleep in the smaller, colder house for whatever reason. Maybe in these guys' case, maybe they had a domestic and they fell out. But I'm getting them to clear this hut. Before they destroy the hut though, they're taking all the firewood and all the food out of it and putting it into the barn and into the wee tiny warehouse there. So now that they have all that food and firewood out, it is back into our stockpile, so it has actually increased our figures up in the top left hand corner, and now the two of them are removing the hut. So we're fairly set here for coming into winter, which will be soon enough. We have our house, we have a decent level of food, which should last us, and a decent amount of wood as well. That'll definitely last us. Now, as I say, I have the fisherman's hut there and I have the lumberjack, so if either of those starts to go down quicker than I expect, you're always kind of estimating these things. If I don't end up having enough food, I'll constantly keep an eye on the fish and the bread up there in the top left. If it's going down quickly and we're not getting through the winter quick enough, I'll put both of them on the fish. If our chopped wood or firewood starts to go down too quickly, maybe it's an extraordinarily cold winter, then I'll put them both on firewood. But for now, I'm just going to play it by ear and have the two of them clearing a bit more, just for a bit more materials, because we are low on lumber, and if we do have an emergency where we need to make more firewood, we don't want to also have to chop the trees, because we'll probably run out of time to do that. So here, winter's coming in. I see we're expecting a baby there, which is fantastic. That's one of the benefits of putting them into a better house, a warmer house. You get the higher chance of pregnancy, and essentially we want babies as quickly as possible in this early game, so that we can start to get more people to do some more work. But you don't actually want, at no point in the game do you want to grow too fast. If you grow too fast, you will have serious problems with food. You might be sitting pretty with a nice large stockpile of for 10 people one year, but if you then produce another 10, then next year you might be looking at the same stockpile thinking, I'll be fine, that's enough, and then you realize, oh, I'm eating through this, or my people are eating through this twice as fast as they were last year. It sounds obvious when you say it out loud, but that kind of thing can really sneak up on you, and you can forget how many citizens you had coming into last winter compared to this winter, and how much more food then I need. It's not readily available information in your head or in the game. You just have to try to remember, or just keep what I do is I keep a large amount of leeway for these things. leeway for wood, leeway for food, just in case you're miscalculate, or indeed just in case it's a really cold winter and you've accounted for it more than what you'll ever need essentially. So as I said there, I have one on the lumberjack, one on the fish here, and I'm gonna leave that as that is for a while and monitor, as I say, the food and the wood situation, and I'm gonna speed up through this as well this winter. Essentially, that's what I'll be doing all winter. So we are pretty good on food at this stage. Definitely good on firewood. So I'm gonna take out of the fishing hut here, and I'm going to clear some of this and get some natural resources. And I'm just clearing everything. There's nothing specific I need right now. I mean, I'm low on stone, low on iron, or low on wood, low on hay, essentially everything that they're going to be gathering. So I've just taken them both off there and got them to start gathering that then. But again, it's only because I'm looking at the figures and thinking they're fine. I'm certainly fine on firewood. That's going to get me through the end of the winter, no problem at all. Food might still be a wee bit low, but I still want the kind of larger area there cleared for coming into the spring so that we can undertake some projects. So if I need to, I will put one of them back on food there, back on the fish. But if you've seen there, I know I was fast forwarding through it, but the figures didn't really go down. The lumber amount and the food amount didn't really go down while I had one of each of them. Their child died during birth. Fantastic. We had each of them on, one on the lumberjack, one on the fishing hut, and the numbers won't really go down. It makes sense because they're only fishing for two people. They're only chopping wood for two people. Two people aren't going to use that much, and one person was able to keep on top of each, which is kind of has to be for you to be able to survive this early game. Now ultimately later, as we have more people, more houses, then we'll need more firewood. As we have more people, then we need more food as well. So it's about getting a balance constantly. The balance is relatively easy struck, as I say, when there's two people. Just put one on each and you're fine. And again, the fish in the hut isn't even the most efficient way of getting food. It's just useful to have during the winter, I find. Now, next thing I'm going to build here, I'm going to actually use my newly acquired resources that have been gathering there recently to build a hunting cabin. This is another way of getting food. This will hunt animals to get meat, which is a pretty good food source. Again, it can be used year round, and it's useful now that we're able to place this now, probably because everything else has sort of went in our favour. I was originally planning on placing this in spring, when I was assuming that the two workers that we have were going to be needing to focus on food and focus on wood the whole way through the winter. But as I say there, because our stockpiles are pretty good, I've decided I might as well build it early. And the hunting cabin often tends to be pretty efficient, but there has to be animals available, so it'll be really efficient when we place it, because there's loads of animals. You see the bears and a couple that I was hunting there, in the first person mode, bears and wolves and stuff knocking about. Once I put somebody into this hunting cabin, they'll kill all those pretty quickly, and we'll get a big surplus in meat early on. Now, the hunting cabin does have a big circle around it, and that's the area that the hunting cabin will hunt within. If there's no animals within that circle, then you're not going to be producing any meat, and you're not going to be able to hunt any animals. Now, what you also get, you get furs from the hunts as well, which will be useful later on for making clothes. But for now, I am just going to get my guys to build this hunting cabin, and we will go from there. Then we'll probably start to use it pretty immediately to get food out of it. So still just getting these guys to clear the surrounding area, because I know we're good on food. We still have a wee bit of the bread left that we start with, and plenty of the fish then that I was able to fish over the last couple of seasons. And yeah, our firewood is about to start to be not used anymore, because we're getting pretty close to winter ending. So yay, a baby's been born. Fantastic, all healthy. That's good. Now they'll grow up and become a worker for us. And there we go, just like that. We are out of the winter and we have survived. We have a decent amount of firewood still, 75 firewood left, and an alright amount of food, but food is dwindling, so we're going to need to start to solve that as soon as possible into the new season. But as promised, this is just a run through of your first year. If you are having difficulties with surviving through the winter, if you follow these tips, that'll help you, I'm sure. Also, one thing that I'm going to do ASAP into the next year is probably build a well, because one thing that does happen, I haven't had it happen me yet in the first year, so there might be something to block that, but I'm not sure about that. But sometimes your buildings can go on fire. Now if you have a well, all your guys just drop their tools and run to the well and grab buckets, and they put the fire out, and that's no problem at all, as long as the well is moderately close to your building that's on fire. But if it goes on fire and you don't have a well built, you're going to be hard pushed to build a well, let it fill with water, and then put the fire out before your building is destroyed. So that's one thing that is worth considering. It's not too difficult to build a well, but as I say, in my playthroughs, and of which I've played quite a few, I don't think I've ever had a building go on fire in the first year, but I've definitely had them go on fire in the second year. So as I say, that will be an early thing that needs done. But for now, essentially it's fairly straightforward. Keep your food stocks up, keep your wood stocks up. If you can't get the house built that I built, obviously don't destroy the hut. Your guys should survive through the winter in the hut, no problem. But I just had the extra resources and was able to do it, so why not, because it increases the speed at which you start to reproduce, and we'll start to get more citizens then. Well, that's that then. Thank you very much for watching. If you've liked what you've seen, give me a like and a subscribe below, or if you have any comments to make, feel free to leave them. But for now, wherever you are, goodbye and good luck.